Greetings and salutations, everyone! My name is Fire Mage, and welcome back to Rimworld Ascension Take 2, Episode 47. If you enjoy this episode, please remember to like and subscribe, and as always, mod list is down in the description. And with that, let's get on to the episode. Alright, picking up where we left off last time, what are my plans for today? Well, my first plan is to finish constructing the swimming pool and hooking that up and figuring out how that works in the first place. But my big plan for today is the complete overhaul of our defenses, which includes moving the trench line, setting up a bunch of turrets, and eventually building one of these. Either a heavy anti-tank gun or a heavy flak gun. We'll figure that out when it comes to it. But in order to do that, we need to finish up the heavy SMGs for that quest. And then, of course, actually build the stuff. So we're going to put that on the list. And the first thing we're going to do to start working on the base defense overhaul is making some reinforced concrete. Because while normal concrete is great, reinforced concrete is more durable. And that is what we want right now. We have plenty of steel, and we are getting more of it by the day. So I think it is completely reasonable for us to start making reinforced concrete. Now, step one for my defenses is going to be the deconstruction of the majority of this old ancient ruin, as it is, quite frankly, in the way. Now, we won't bother deconstructing this section here. It's kind of actually beneficial. It's keeping the enemy from smashing through right there. So, we can leave that. But the rest of this is blocking my line of fire, which I do not appreciate, and so it shall be removed. You know what, actually, before we get to work on all of that, let's make sure we set up some more plumbing infrastructure things, like a pumping station, which we will build back here, because we need to do that, so that we can pump enough water to actually fuel all of our plumbing infrastructure and whatnot. And we will take a water treatment plant and we'll put it right here. That way it can actually be connected. And there we go. Hot tubs are researched. And we'll be setting those up over by the pool soon enough. Next up, we will be doing the moisture pump, because eventually we're going to need to start claiming some more land, and the water is in our way. Now, while I was looking around the colony, I have noticed that we are not generating nearly enough power to power up all of our things, and the main way to get more power is to build another geothermal generator, which is going to require us to move these. Granted, we were already planning on moving the hospital, so not that big of a deal. So let's get to designing that. Now, I still want to keep the hospital relatively close to the front line. Kind of important to have it there. So we will actually be moving it forward to over here. So it's a little bit closer because the trench network is going to be getting pushed out. So a little something like this should do the trick just fine. And we'll have a nice little room here where we can freeze things like medicine and blood so it doesn't spoil. Then, of course, let's make sure we use sterile tiles. That way our hospital is nice and clean. And then we will use hospital beds made of rebar concrete, apparently, for the actual healing. And then we'll move the armor rack in there and probably build a few more so we can have more doctor apparel. And let's also actually make sure we put in a long wave radio, which we can put down here, out of the way, and it will still reach all the beds. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, let's not build the hospital out of concrete. Let's build it out of reinforced concrete, because this thing is going to be getting shot at, more likely than not, seeing as it is so close to the front line. I didn't even think of that. There we go. That will make it significantly more durable. And moisture pumps are done. That will be very good for the inevitability of needing to expand our base. Now, next up, we're going to do one that won't necessarily give us anything, but it will save us time in the long run. That being hardened components, which will make our components dramatically more durable, and I believe it also affects the maintenance of our mechanical buildings. Now, while I was sitting here watching the hospital get built, I had an idea. I'm going to build a very small battery bank inside the hospital. This way, no matter what happens to the base on the outside, the hospital will remain powered, at least temporarily. That way we can make sure that we get maximum medical tending from the lights, which also, I just realized as I was saying that, I forgot to even set up in the hospital. Oh, and a bulk goods trader from the Whitemire settlement have come to do business. Lovely. And just in time, too, because we are getting the mood debuff from not doing enough trading. Let's go ahead, Beller Rose, go put on the old trading suit, and we'll see what this caravan has to offer us. We are spending a lot of money on this hospital, after all. Need to replenish our losses a little. Alright, let's see what we can get from this trader. First off, it looks like they are more than willing to buy our food, which is a pleasant surprise. They are willing to buy our neutronamine. I'm more than willing to part with that. It's not very useful to me. And, of course, they are willing to purchase a bunch of our leathers and wool. Very nice. Our ambrosia can be sold. Let's see, anything else? Alright, I think that, other than potentially selling off some meat, is about all we are going to be parting with. And it looks like they do have reinforced barrels we can buy. Very tempting. But I think we will start off by buying all of their components, all of their chem fuel, and seeing where that gets us. And that gets us 104 silver in profit. Not bad, but not ideal either. So we're going to go ahead and sell off a little bit of our meat. Easy enough to come by, especially since it is summer. And there we go. That nets us a profit of 856, and I will accept that trade. And hardened components is done. Again, that one's not going to help us in terms of new structures, but instead in terms of maintenance time. Because I don't feel like doing a bunch of maintenance. At least not if I can avoid it. Next up, we will be doing multi-barrel weapons, which will give us miniguns and a couple really cool rocket launchers, which we are most certainly going to be building in order to deal with the massive hordes that we must fight. Anything to aid us in horde destruction is welcome. Also, the hospital is done. Well, not quite. The building itself is done. Now all we have to do is hook up a radiator, a fan, and an over-the-wall cooler, and it will be finished. Which means that we can finally deconstruct the old hospital. It has served us well over time, but it is time for it to be retired. And there we are. The floors of the Ancient Danger have been removed, and that means it is time to begin setting up the new defenses. Now, step 1 is the removal of all of our barbed wire. That is going to be step number 1, and while they do that, let's go ahead and start planning out the next upgrades. We will be using fortified trenches this time, which can be built on stone, unlike the actual trenches themselves. A very pleasant change, if I do say so myself, because that means that we are not limited to building on dirt, which is why our trench network is the way it is right now. This one is going to be a bit more of a semicircle as well, like so, which will give us a easier time to shoot outward. And we will be putting a giant heavy flat gun somewhere inside of all of this, because of course we are. We will also be putting up these mini concrete turret bunkers, because they will be very useful. We'll be putting them around the trench line. And then, of course, in front of all of that, we will be putting barbed wire. We will need to make an entrance, now that I'm thinking about it, so that our vehicles can actually get in and out without exploding. Let's go ahead and just cut a little hole in our line right here. That should do the trick. Like that. And you know what? I feel like this turret up here is looking a little bit lonely. Let's go ahead and redesign this just a tad. There we go. And that will be the new basic trench line. But of course, these basic mini turret bunkers won't be nearly enough if we ever get attacked by more war caskets, which is why we will also be putting in some double autocannon turrets in between them. These will be placed behind the lines, so they will be shooting over our colonists, so hopefully they don't accidentally shoot us. No promises on that front. But if it works the way I'm hoping it does, they will allow us to have a little bit of extra heavy firepower. And then surrounding the autocannon turrets, we will simply put up a little bit of a sandbag barrier. Give them some extra cover. And that should do the trick nicely. And once all that is built, we'll worry about putting in the giant cannon of destruction. And the heavy SMG construction is done. And just in time too, because we have 5.8 more days to finish it. And that means we now get to send out a caravan to Tuzla. So what we're going to do, since everyone's pretty low on mood, is we will be sending 2 people in order to ensure the caravan is not lost. Obviously, Beller Rose will go as our primary trader, but we'll also be sending Silveranis to function as a backup. They can't do any socialing, but that is not their job. Now let's go ahead and get a caravan set up for that. Well, looking at the world map here before we send off a caravan, apparently the Blight Society has been rapidly expanding and taking over all of our neighboring settlements. That's not ideal. And that means we're going to have to worry about that soon enough. But not right now. Let's make sure we load up Belarus and Silveranis. And then all the stuff we are going to take to sell. Because we're not just going to be dropping off all of our submachine guns we made for them. We might as well make a profit as well. Alright, and that should do the trick for the caravan. Make sure we send it to Kusla and accept. And now they'll begin loading it up, and they'll be off soon enough. And multi-barrel weapons is finished, allowing us to make basic miniguns and some rocket launchers. But that's not the only rocket launchers I want to be able to make. Next up, we will be doing heavy weapons, which will get us the rocket launcher, which we used to defeat that raid a few episodes back, grenade launchers, heavy machine guns, and an anti-material rifle, which I'm sure will be very useful, with a 100% armor penetration value that might actually do some damage to war caskets, which is kind of what I'm building all my stuff around. And we have arrived at Tusla. Let's go ahead, fulfill our trade offer. Excellent. And that means that we should... Yep, 8 reinforced barrels, and now we have to trade because the truck is overweight. So let's go ahead, sell off all the stuff that we brought for this purpose. And that gets us down on our weight. Perfect. Unfortunately, it does not look like they are willing to buy the war casket weapons we brought. Most unfortunate. But they do have medicine, which is primarily what I came here for. You know what? I think we're actually going to purchase our first cybernetic attachment, and it's going to be this Psychic Reader, which will give us a huge bonus to our negotiation ability and our trade price improvement. So I think that will do quite nicely, and it will cost a sizable chunk of our money, but it'll be worth it, I think. And while we're here, let's also go ahead and grab up some more advanced components. You can never have too many of those. And we'll grab 2 meals so they can have something to eat on their way back, and that is most of my money. Ah, and it would seem that the mule on its way back to the garage somehow blew out the chem tank. Don't know how they did that, but they did. Well, that is unfortunate, because that means we're going to have to repair it and then lug it back. Well, in the meantime, I suppose we can go ahead and start hauling in what we can. Oh, and more drifters desiring aid, and of course they want medicine. They want all the medicine I just bought. Of course they do. Well, we'll have to look at them when they get a little closer and see if any of them are worth capturing. Alright, well, now that it is daytime and those beggars have made their way to the colony, let's go ahead and take a little look and see if any of them are worth trying to capture. And the answer is no, not a single one of them is worth capturing. The ones with good skills are unwaveringly loyal, and the ones who are not unwaveringly loyal are just bad. Of course. Well, that sucks. But what we can do to make it a little happier time is installing the Psychic Reader into Belarus. Belarus, go ahead, go get a fine grill and eat it, then make your way on back. the Psychic Reader on top of the Negotiating skill, we should be able to talk our way out of almost anything, I think. Which is good. It'll make recruiting people super fast, and we can start doing peace talks and whatnot with some factions when those pop up. Normally I don't do those, but I think it might be a thing we want to start doing. Vera, you are the best doctor. You will be doing the medical work on Bella Rose. Oh, and we got another quest. Donkey sitting for the Fallen Empire. Interesting. Well, a prestige cataphract helmet. Now that is very tempting. But I think we will accept it for some goodwill instead. 11 donkeys with paralytic abrasia. That is a lot of them. A lot of donkeys. We are going to need to make sure we can care for that many. And we will simply throw them in here with the cows and the mouflons. And there it is. The Psychic Reader has been installed. And now Vera can swap back into her usual clothes. And I think I'm going to leave this episode off here. We made a lot of good progress today. We got that quest done. 8 reinforced barrels, which means we can make the super awesome anti-everything gun, which will be next episode. We have begun work on our new defensive line, and the sheer amount of turrets should hopefully help suppress both heavy armor and hordes. And of course, we have our new and improved hospital. Next episode, we should be hopefully finishing up those new defenses, and perhaps even expanding them further if I deem it necessary, which I probably will, because, well, the raids are quite massive. But with all that said and done, I will see you all in the next episode.